Good evening, ladies, good sirs, scholars, and film degenerates. As you can clearly see, things are going to be a little different on this episode of Real Debates. Because me, yes, David Pedersen, a two-time Real Debates loser, runner-up is what we're going to go with, will be the host. And that being said, we're going to place Walter in the hot seat. It's going to be straight up bananas. It's Real Debates, man. So let's start off by introducing the boss man himself, a screenwriter, film critic, producer, director, game show host, and mustache enthusiast, Mr. Walter Benasiak. What say you, good sir?
Well,
are you ready for some hardcore debating?
Oh, I'm ready. I've been wanting to jump in for a long time. Finally ready to do this. I can't lose on my own show. Good Lord.
Got a little something right here.
Oh.
Okay. It's your mustache. And sitting directly across from him, cool as a December cucumber, you may recognize him as the shadowy criminal mastermind in the independent web series The Infinity Trinity, Mr. Bryan Porter. What does Walter really know what he's gotten himself into?
Definitely not.
It's almost time to get down to...
He's there for real now.
He's got glasses.
Hey,
Sorry,
back.
just got back.
I just want to point out also, if we could just move the camera in a little bit. Could you just kind of stand up a little bit?
Oh, you want to see it?
Watch your mic there.
Look at that.
I want to show that he's not actually wearing suit pants.
I decided to go to newscaster type style today. You know, comfortable on the bottom, business up top. Ready to kill it. Ready to kill it.
50% off there. That's what that's called.
All class over here, boy. Yeah.
Sorry, Uncle Morty. I had to show up in your funeral in my shorts. All right. It's almost time to get down to debating, but first, let's go over the rules. We have 4 topic discussion rounds that these two are prepared for. Each round, we'll hear a 1-minute opening argument from each debater. After both debaters have presented their arguments, they will go back and forth on why their point of view is better on the subject. At the end of the round, we will award 3 points to the person who I believe presented the best argument. After those 4 rounds are complete, we will move on to the lightning round, where the debaters will be asked a series of movie trivia. Those trivia questions are worth 1 point each. The debater with the most points at the end of the game wins. Is everybody clear? You should be. You've been here before. Okay. Then let's debate. For real. Wink. Good. That's the best I can do.
Okay.
Alrighty. This episode is all about opinionated bests. This means that each of the 4 questions posed to the debaters will be about their favorite blank. First blank will be given to... The first blank will be given to Mr. Walter Benasiak. So, in your opinion, what is the best war film of all time and why?
All right, Dave. I've got one word for you. Actually, 2. The horror. Yes, I'm talking about Apocalypse Now. This is not just the best war movie of all time, but it's consistently ranked as one of the greatest movies, period. It's constantly ranked, in AFI, American Film Institute. It's constantly in its top 30, not by just them, but by any respectable film critic, both from when it originally came out and how it's looked back upon as like a classic now by current filmmakers and film critics. I'm just blown away still by that movie. It's pretty incredible, just like that pipe.
All right, we're going to go over to Mr. Portier. Apocalypse Now, Francis Ford Coppola, considered one of the best war films of all time, if not films of all time. What say you, sir?
I say We Were Soldiers, starring Mel Gibson. I think it was a fantastic movie. It's a great war movie. It talks about the Vietnam. You don't see too often. More times than not, you see World War II and stuff like that. But I think We Were Soldiers was a fantastic, awesome, amazing war movie because the opening itself, talking about how it's talking about the story of the soldiers that America has forgot, the war that they kind of brush off. That's great. It's got a strong cast, great performances all around, great character development everywhere, and it is a very moving and touching story.
Okay, so both of you have mentioned Vietnam War films
Vietnam War is probably
about the air cav. We haven't touched on World War II. We haven't touched on World War One. Why is Apocalypse Now a better than Vietnam film? What does it show that We Were Soldiers doesn't?
Well, Apocalypse Now is, I mean, you look at the documentary that was made about it, Hearts of Darkness, and you can see what they went through. This whole cast, this crew went through to make this movie. They lost their minds, literally. They got lost in the jungles, and the people were hurt. Martin Sheen had a heart attack because he was 36 years old.
Yeah.
The man had a heart attack on set because of the amount of stress that he was under to become this character, Willard, in the movie. People were just, it was complete anarchy on that
But
set.
what does it show as far as war?
As far as war, it shows a realistic side. I mean, World War II is often very glorified as, this time of valor. We were on the right side. It was very black and white. Nazis were the bad guys, Axis powers. We were on the good side. Vietnam, we didn't really win that war, did we not? I mean, this is something that we didn't come out of on the other side, clean as we did in World War II, where everyone was basically positive that we did the right thing again. So it's just very, it shows like the nitty gritty of Vietnam. It shows how people are killed off in that movie, in gruesome ways. There's people just as set pieces. There's people hung in the background. I mean, it's awful. It's disturbing, and that's what war really is. World War II is like that as well. Obviously, any war, but this war, because of Vietnam, it's more accepted by the public as something that is a dirtier, soldiers coming back were being called baby killers. You could look to Rambo or something like that for that.
So Walter's saying that Apocalypse Now shows more of the darker side of war, the part that nobody really wants to discuss. Why is We Were Soldiers, or what is different about that with
Well, first he was talking about how the crew lost their mind and all that stuff. That sucks, but it wasn't in the movie, so you can't really. I don't think you can use that.
It comes through. Oh, it comes through.
But something that We Were Soldiers has that Apocalypse Now and other movies doesn't have. Most of those movies, you're in the war and that's it till the end of the film. But in We Were Soldiers, like the first 45 to 50 minutes of the movie they're not even in wartime. They're back in the States. So you're getting the character development. You're seeing the relationships with the soldiers and their families. I mean, the first time you see Mel Gibson on screen, he's praying with, I think he's praying with his sons and daughters. Mm-hmm. And that is a really, really good scene to see this character as a family man, as a man of God, and then he has to go in and commit these horrible acts of war, and he has to separate himself as a father and a man of God to pretty much just a soldier with no other thoughts except I need to kill my enemy. And you see all these they come back to the wives and how they're coping with all that stuff. And there's this one scene where a taxi driver drops off a telegram informing that the wives that their husband has died, and they weren't even ready for it. There's no chaplains, no support, no counselors, and the wives take over and deliver that news to the other wives. You see that side of the war. You see the side that no one else sees. You see the hearts broken. You see the families. You see the torn families. And you don't see that in most other movies because you're just in the war. You don't see the war at home.
Okay. So, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I'd like to mention, first of all, the cast here. I mean, they're all legends. Marlon Brando, of course. Martin Sheen, Robert Duvall, Dennis Hopper, a young Lawrence Fishburne, a young Harrison Ford is in this movie. And strong screen veterans like Albert Hall and Scott Glenn, who was awesome in Daredevil. Remember his stick, Porter. So Scott Glenn is in this as well. Just the cast is amazing in this film. The Francis Ford Coppola, of course, amazing director of the Godfather trilogy. Mm-hmm. And he just... like how they threw themselves.
He also makes a cameo.
Yes, at one point he does.
Yeah.
But they just how they threw themselves into this movie, and I think that it's a fair point to talk about because he talked about how they're back at home. Mm-hmm. We see Martin Sheen before he goes back, and we see that he is how much it's messed him up to be in Vietnam, and now he has to go back to kill Marlon Brando's character. He's sending as a special force to go take him out. So like we do see both sides of that. So before and after he goes in. The memorable moments, of course. The horror speech by Marlon Brando. I love the smell of napalm in the morning. I mean, everybody knows that, even though if they don't know what movie that's from. Robert Duvall is fantastic. The Flight of the Valkyrie bombing sequence.
Right.
I mean, it shows that we're not always the good guys.
Right.
And I think that's extremely important.
All right, counterpoint your last thought.
Okay, I think that there's a lot of awesome character development in this story, in this movie, and there's a lot of characters to develop, but each one's, hit on well and with enough time. There's one of my favorite characters, his name is Gallo. He's a reporter, it's played by Barry Pepper, and he comes in as a non-combatant. Sam Elliott's character says, hands him a rifle, and he's like, "Sir, I'm a non-combatant," and he's like, "There's no such thing today." So as a non-combatant, not trained, he gets a rifle and starts firing back at the enemy. And later on, after he sees all this bloodshed, all the horror and all that stuff, he drops the rifle, he looks at his hands, he grabs his camera, and he captures the pain in the soldier's eyes. And then later on, at the end of the film, he asks Mel Gibson, "I don't know how to tell their story." Mel Gibson says to him, "I need you to tell the story exactly how it happened here." You know, he needs him to make sure that everybody knows what happened, and what they did was not what they wanted to do, it was what they were told to do, and even how bad it was, they had to do it.
Okay. I'm going to give this one to Walter. I think you provided a good argument. The book, We Were Soldiers, the subtitle for that is We Were Young, which I think would have been a good counterpoint.
Okay.
Was to show that these were 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds fighting in a war, which I think the film was trying to show. And I like the idea of it showing the home front, but the argument against, that America's not always right in war, I think Apocalypse Now showed that more than We Were Soldiers. So let's go ahead and give the 3 points then to
That was
Walter
fun.
for that. But
Don't get cocky.
I'm not getting cocky.
Yeah,
This
don't
is
get
all-
cocky.
this
It
awesome.
is pretty
We
awesome.
finally get
It
to,
is
we
pretty
wanted to do
awesome.
this for so long.
We have.
Finally get to do it.
It's awesome. I'm still gonna beat
All
you.
We'll see what happens.
all right, moving on to round two, Mr. Porter. In your opinion, who is the most evil villain in cinematic history?
I'm going to go with the one and only Hannibal Lecter. That man was one of the scariest villains of all time, and he was on screen for 24 minutes and 52 seconds, and he is the second person to win an Oscar in such a short amount of time. To be on screen in like a 2-hour movie for 24 minutes and win an Oscar, and to terrify the hearts of pretty much every single person that's ever seen the movie, is ridiculous. And it shows Anthony Hopkins' acting chops to the nth degree. Like, he absolutely killed that performance. He was terrifying. With some of the most simple lines, he just froze your bones. He gave you goosebumps. And some of this stuff was improvised, and it was just off the top of his head. For the majority of the film, he barely blinked.
Yeah.
He only blinked at very specific times when he wanted to blink, and that is terrifying.
Okay, so Hannibal Lecter, Clarice, what say you, good sir?
Let's put a smile on that face. Yes, I'm talking about Heath Ledger's Joker. This is a no-brainer, okay, because this is easily the most iconic film villain of the last few decades. I think nobody can argue that. And I definitely think Heath Ledger's Joker is the most evil villain ever. The question is the most evil villain ever. I actually think that Hannibal Lecter has some redeeming qualities, and that showed in the movie, actually. Heath Ledger's Joker has no redeeming qualities, besides the part that he's the biggest comic book villain, I think, ever. He's still widely considered the best because Ledger won the Academy Award, of course, that year. I mean, that's a famous story about how he passed away before the film came out. Yeah, so both won the supporting actor role. The Joker, I think the main thing here is that the Joker is so evil because we can almost relate to him. We're this close from actually relating to that character, and that's scary. He represents the darker side of all of us, the thoughts that are in the back of our heads that keep us up at night. He is the man who has nothing to lose and wants to bring everyone down to his level. Okay, so he says that the Joker had no redeeming qualities, but he's almost relatable. What say you, sir?
Well, the fact that Hannibal Lecter has redeeming qualities in some degree, I think is even more scary because he sees that in himself. He sees he has the capacity for good and chooses not to. He wants to go evil. The Joker, I can't control myself. This is how I gotta be. No. Anthony Hopkins, Hannibal Lecter, he chooses to be bad because it's more exciting to him. It's more intellectually stimulating.
But how is he bad? What does he do?
Well, he kind of eats people's faces off.
He eats people, right.
That's, I'd say, a little bit more, it's more intimate of a kill than just blowing someone up or some of the stuff that the Joker has done. He gets in there. What was it? A census taker tried to test me once, and I ate his liver with a nice Chianti and some fava beans.
Now, do you forgive his performance? Are you just talking about Silence of the Lambs, not with the stupid Hannibal film?
I'm just talking about
Well, now
Silence
that you
of the
call it
Lambs.
stupid.
I'm sorry. The wonderful.
No,
he could have thrown it in, you'd been like, no,
Yeah.
you lose.
No, I am talking about only Silence of the Lambs because that was his first on screen. I think it's the one that we think of him in the most. We don't really go towards Hannibal. He gave a cool performance in it. The movie itself wasn't that great, but his performance was good. But specifically in Silence of the Lambs, he was amazing. Actually, there's this one part in the movie where he makes fun of Clarice's southern accent. That actually terrified Jodie Foster in real life. She was scared with him. I can almost guarantee that while the Joker was menacing and terrifying, he didn't actually scare anybody on the crew.
Counterpoint.
He did scare people. There's countless stories about on the set how the guy didn't even make eye contact with people in between takes. He would go in the corner and just go around. People didn't know what he was going to do. Maggie Gyllenhaal, when he's holding there with the knife, like she didn't know what was going on. People were scared by the Joker. You cannot be a human being and not be scared of this Joker. I think that besides how evil he is, if we're talking about what this Joker did, I mean, he tortures a guy and broadcasts it over national television in Gotham. He kills him. We don't know how he killed him. I'm sure in the most gruesome way possible. He dresses him up in a Batman suit, paints his face with his own Joker makeup, and hangs him off a skyscraper. That is evil.
Yeah.
Pure evil. He's a terrifying intimidator, an agent of chaos. He's scary because he's just a man. He's just a man. He's a psychopathic human being that any of us can turn into. When you really think about it, we're just one bad day away from turning into someone like the Joker. You think about that, and it's freaking scary. Yeah. People can snap at any moment. I don't want to go too deep into like real life situations, but you don't let people with no background go into a movie theater and shoot a bunch of people. Are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. Like, we're capable of this as human beings, and the Joker shows the line. He's walking the line, and he knows. You're talking about that. He knows. He chooses to be bad. The Joker that is his whole point. Anarchy he's totally for going against the grain in every way possible to show that this life doesn't matter.
Okay. Counterpoint.
When you look at the Joker, it's like, oh my God, this guy's crazy. Something's gonna happen. Blah blah blah. You look at Anthony Hopkins. Before you even talk to him, he seems like a nice, normal guy. You get to talking to him. Wrong movie. Damn it. But like, he can talk to people and he can be like a normal person.
In the parade scene, Joker didn't have his makeup on, totally blended as a normal person.
Except for the two huge scars on his face.
And no one noticed them, and he's still shot.
Did he have any dialogue, though, in that scene?
No dialogue.
But see, that he was in a huge thing with a bunch of other people. If you're talking one-on-one to Hannibal Lecter, you're not going to know that he's about to eat your nose off.
You could obviously tell that there's something wrong with Hannibal Lecter. The guy talks like this, and is looking you in the eye. He won't blink.
He could be eccentric.
Oh, please.
He could be eccentric.
If you met Hannibal Lecter in real life,
you would call me right away. You would call me right away,
and you said, "Dude, I just met this guy.
I feel
He's
like Bill
freaking
O'Reilly." That's what I feel
Joker is evil.
Okay, that's it.
Joker is
okay,
evil.
Moving on. I think you both presented what are two very iconic villains. I think Walter, I loved Heath's performance, but I think as far as character-wise, I'm going to have to go with Bryan because I think
on the arguments, Dave.
I'm sorry, I'm listening to the arguments,
that's terrible.
But I think that Hannibal Lecter is more. He eats people, and I know that.
Joker. Oh my goodness. Okay.
The Joker never ate
If the Joker ate someone,
the Joker could have eaten somebody,
but he didn't, sir.
We don't know.
He did
There's
not,
no
sir.
evidence, but he probably did. He cut him up to little pieces.
Anyhow, moving on.
Bite-sized pieces, easy to digest.
Okay. It's time for round 3. Everyone has their favorite movie to watch when they're feeling under the weather. Walter, what is your favorite sick day film?
Okay, so what do we usually want to watch when we're feeling homesick, or we're homesick from school or work or whatever? It's something to comfort us, right? It's something to make us feel better. And there isn't a movie out there that can do that more still to this day than Superman the movie, 1978, starring Christopher Reeve. It lifts you up. It is just, Christopher Reeve is amazing as Superman. He makes you believe in the goodness of humanity. He inspires goodness within you. It makes you feel better from the inside out. And then, you feel like you can take on the world after that and go right back to work and do whatever you're supposed to do.
Christopher Reeve, original Superman. Brian? Huh?
Original-ish Superman.
Another Reeve.
Yeah, George Reeves.
I'm going to go with another movie in somewhat of the comics fashion, not quite what you would say. Mallrats. Mallrats is a fantastic sick day movie, at least for me personally, because it's a cult classic. I've loved it for years. It has a fantastic cast. It has Jay and Silent Bob. If you have Jay and Silent Bob in a movie, you're going to feel good because they're just amazing. It has a high comics reference, and they talk about it a lot, which is really good for me because I love comics. It has a Stan Lee cameo in it, which is amazing. He has a lot of screen time talking about superhero and love and all that stuff, and you get really good because anytime Stan Lee is on screen, you feel good because it's Stan Lee. And so that movie really makes me feel good whenever I'm sick because I just lose myself in their world, which is almost my own because I love comics so much and they love comics so much. So I feel like a kinship with these characters.
Okay,
and
so the connectability for Brian is what makes it a good sick day film. What would you say makes Superman better than Mallrats?
Personal story, folks. When I was 15 years old, I was supposed to go visit my aunt and uncle in L.A. First time on a plane, first time flying through the air, all that stuff. I was very excited to go see my cousins and everyone out there.
He has 18 cousins.
I have a bajillion,
32.
Way more than 18. So I was going to be going out there, and day before I got like seriously sick. Like, oh man, I had like over 100-degree fever. Like it was bad. I couldn't go on the plane the next morning. So my grandmother and my cousin went ahead, and I felt really bad. And I was sitting there, and I was like, my brother just got the four DVD Superman case. So I was like, I'm gonna watch the Superman movies, specifically the first one. So guess what? I put that movie on. I started feeling a little bit better. I was like, all right, maybe I don't get to go, but maybe I'll go next time or something. I get a call. I can go on the next plane out. It was that night, so a lot of it because of that movie. I was feeling so good, like at that point. I mean, the drugs helped. But honestly, like my outlook I felt so good. It was one of the first times I see it, not the first time, but I got on the plane that night, first time ever on a plane by myself. Opened up freaking Sprite, spilled it all everywhere on this old man. It was a terrible flight on the way there, but I got there, threw up in my uncle's toilet, and from the rest of the time, 2 weeks, I had a fantastic time. And honestly, think that Superman helped me. That movie helped me feel better, like on the inside out.
So, Brian, Superman made physical changes in Walter. What happens with Mallrats?
Okay, Superman's a great movie. It makes you feel good. Does it make you laugh nearly as much as Mallrats does? Mallrats is a riot fest from beginning to end. So many memorable lines of dialogue. Fly, fat ass, fly. I mean, it is amazing. There is so much that movie offers in the terms of hilarity that makes you feel so much better. When you laugh, you feel better. It has chemical reaction in your brain, makes you feel better.
Yeah.
So that might have made you feel better emotionally and this and that. My movie actually physically, scientifically makes you feel better because I laugh so much at that movie.
Scientifically. But I'm living proof that Superman makes you feel better. And you still laugh at Superman.
Not nearly as much.
No, not nearly, because it's not really a comedy movie, but it is like late 70s cheese thrown in there. So like Gene Hackman is Lex Luthor is still funny.
Horrible wig.
Yeah, it was actually his real hair.
What's the one with Richard Pryor? Is that 3?
That's 3. No, we're talking about Superman the movie, the 1978 movie.
But
I mean, besides all this, I mean, it's a coming.
Final thoughts, yeah.
Yeah, final thoughts here. It's an epic coming of age story with extremely strong character moments that it makes you think on yourself. Whenever I would see the stuff in Smallville, it makes me think of growing up. And then you see him becoming a man, becoming Superman. It's a great sci-fi spectacle, and it just restores faith in humanity. It still holds up. It still holds up. Still the best. You do not. I know you do not think that Henry Cavill is better than Christopher Reeve. Christopher Reeve is still
Absolutely
Christopher Reeve's still the best Superman. I mean, the guy himself, like even afterwards, he was still Superman after he was paralyzed because of how much he inspired people.
Right.
Like I would tear up sometimes thinking about that, and it all stems from this movie. It gives you the feeling that life can be better. You can jump back into your life.
Pretty strong points, Brian. What do you say?
Well, I say that, when you're feeling sick, you want to feel good. Laughter is the main remedy for that. And I think since this movie delivers on so much, you have no other place to look because it makes you feel so good, physically, emotionally. You're laughing, you're forgetting about your pain, you're immersing yourself in the movie, in the hilarity. I mean, the scene with the chocolate pretzels.
Scientifically proven.
Scientifically proven. The scene with the chocolate pretzels, okay? I laughed so incredibly
Gross.
hard.
It's gross.
About a month ago, I actually was eating some chocolate pretzels, and I was just like, "Do you like some chocolate pretzels?" And Walter was just like, "No."
That made me feel sicker, Dave.
Because of that movie. But he remembered it, and it made me laugh. Like, that movie still makes me laugh when I'm not even watching it, because I remember stuff about it. Jay and Silent Bob quotes.
Feces-covered pretzels.
Pretty much. Jay and Silent Qui-Gon Jinn. Jay and Silent Bob quotes all day just because it's hysterical. I mean, they even have the posters for the blueprints when they're trying to steal or trying to get the mall cop.
Okay, so while I think hilarity is definitely good when you're sick, I gotta give it to Superman. I felt like I believed it.
Because it's true.
You guys totally missed out on Princess Bride or Neverending Story, by the way.
The Neverending Story is good too. But Superman has made me feel better emotionally and physically.
Right, so Walter gets the 3 points. Let's continue on, but nice try.
Nice.
Okay, we've come to our final debate round. This time we're going to go with Bryan. The score right now is 6-3. Bryan, in your opinion, what is the best monologue by a character in any film or television series? And if you could, just kind of introduce what we're going to see, and then we're going to go to a short clip from the actual monologue.
I'm going to go with Denzel Washington's Gettysburg Battle Site speech in Remember the Titans.
Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look. For those of you who are not in the know film lingo, a monologue is defined by, it's a long speech by one character. So let's take a look at Denzel Washington in Remember the Titans.
This is Gettysburg. This is where they fought the Battle of Gettysburg. 50,000 men died right here on this field, fighting the same fight that we're still fighting amongst ourselves. You listen. Take a lesson from the dead. If we don't come together right now on this hollow ground, we too will be destroyed.
Okay, so why is that the best monologue in film history?
Well, I mean, you see, the time frame it takes place, and you see the boys, white and black, fighting each other because the races and all that stuff, and nobody wants anybody to be here. And they're fighting this battle that's been fought since the 1800s, since the Civil War. And they're on the ground of, like, practically their forefathers, that they're fighting the same fight. It might not be with guns and muskets and all that stuff, but it's with words and it's with hate. And to show them that they are still in this fight, but they can rise above it together to achieve a common goal is synonymous with just the war and trying to unify the states and everything. So, I mean, I think that it hits on a point that is timeless with the struggle of races.
So, Bryan's saying more of a duality in his monologue. What is yours, Benaziac?
Well, mine is from the film On the Waterfront. It's the Marlon Brando speech, "I could have been a contender."
Okay, well, let's go ahead and take a minute to look at that monologue.
You remember that night in the garden, you came down my dressing room and said, "Kid, this ain't your night. We're going for the price on Wilson." You remember that? This ain't your night. My night, I could have taken Wilson apart. So what happens? He gets the title shot outdoors in a ballpark, and what do I get? A one-way ticket to Palookaville. You don't understand. I could have had class. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody instead of a bum, which is what I am. Let's face it.
All right. So why is that the best monologue in film history?
Well, first of all, this is the best Marlon Brando performance and movie, in my opinion. He won Best Actor at the Oscars that year for his performance as Terry Malloy. I believe the movie won Best Picture. But not only that, this movie is amazing. And this film, it transcends time, and this monologue is the most memorable moment from the movie. I mean, it is incredible, like how good of an actor Marlon Brando is, even all these years later. He started off this more realistic acting technique. You could just see it in his eyes, like what he's feeling. The situation is that his brother his brother is, him and his brother are both working for like this mob, this local mob sort of, and he's sort of on the outskirts of it. And a long time ago, he was a boxer, and he had to take some dives because of his brother. He said, "Oh, it's not your night tonight." And he says, "It wasn't my night. I could have torn that guy apart. I could have torn him apart. He could have been somebody. He could have been a contender. He could have been somebody in this life instead of a bum," which is what he is what he says. So in this whole thing, he tells his brother that he screwed him over as a young man. He accepts it. Accepts that he's a bum. He also sees what he could have been now looking back in retrospect. And dealing with all that and looking his brother right in the eye, the emotion that pours out of this man is incredible.
Okay, hold on to that thought.
Okay.
So, what is Denzel Washington saying with his monologue? That's what's the subtext? What's the content? What's he really
a couple
saying?
of lines that I really spoke to me was, "Listen to their souls, men. I killed my brother with malice in my heart. Hatred destroyed my family. You listen, you take a lesson from the dead." Now he's saying this. He's telling this to the football players, but you don't know if he's, like, even as an actor or his character, you don't know if he's actually experienced something like this or not. He probably has. Sadly, that's the reality that we live in. He probably has experienced the hatred, even now, that is still sadly prevalent today. So this, his lines in here speaks to us from the 1800s to the 1950s to the early 2000s. You know, it transcends time completely. And to tell these boys to listen to your brothers and how they were killed and take a lesson from the dead. It's basically like, don't end up like these people. Don't die with hate in your heart. Don't do this again. Don't repeat history. We saw where this went. So rise above it and blaze a new trail and come together. I mean, and this was a turning point for the characters, because right after this scene, you see Gary Bertier in the huddle with the classic left side, strong side line, trying to get Jules in with him, and he actually gets in there with them, and they start doing it, and they start working together, and they kind of just break down these barriers.
How did you feel after listening to the monologue? Did you?
I always get goosebumps.
Yeah.
I always get goosebumps on this part because it's so poignant. It's full of emotion, and you can I can identify with this, you know, and it's pretty amazing to watch a movie set in the 1950s and still feel it in the 2000s.
Okay, great. Let's move on to Walter. Counterpoint.
Okay, I'm not disagreeing that, you know, this is an extremely important issue, obviously, that still resonates today, obviously. But, I mean, this is a different issue. This is between two brothers. This is a family issue, and it's just as important, I think. I mean, so your brother you grow up your whole life with, I mean, he's basically just screwing you over, and it all comes out at once. I mean, like, the wave of, like I said before, the emotion that comes out of Marlon Brando is incredible. And, yeah, I mean, like, that scene is great, but I don't think that it's the best scene in that movie. I think there are a lot of better scenes in Remember the Titans, which I love Remember the Titans. But this is the best scene from On the Waterfront. And it is a more well-respected movie. It won Best Picture, Best Director, Story, Screenplay, Supporting Actress, Art Direction, Editing, Cinematography.
But how did it make you feel after you heard the monologue?
It made me so a mix of sadness, anger. I mean, you really feel it. I mean, and he couldn't even said anything. He could have said 3 words and I would have gotten it. But because he stretches out and explains everything that happened, you get it. And you're just so emotionally invested in what's happening. And Marlon Brando talking to his brother and his brother's face, like realizing that this is true. This is the truth. His brother screwed him over. He could have been somebody. He could have gotten out of where they were. It's just a bad neighborhood. I mean, his whole life would have been different if just this one incident didn't happen. It was you, Charlie. It was you. That's all I got to say.
Right.
Important issue. Different issue.
Final point.
Okay, see, with Coach Boone talking to these kids, he asked them to do something that very few people truly can do, and it's to look inside yourself and actually take a look at yourself and see if you can grow, if you can come above your hate and your stereotypes and everything you feel and actually truly make something better of yourself. And he asked them to do that in the movie, but I think he also asked the audience to do that because, again, it transcends time. So even though it's to these characters, you can still take that and even think he's talking to you.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think that is a huge thing for a movie to do, to be able to resonate in your soul and just speak to you, not only like he's speaking into the character.
Okay. Final point.
Other than what I've already said, I mean, I love Remember the Titans, a great monologue, but I just think that this is a better moment from that movie, and it made me feel, it kind of made me want to act too.
Okay.
I mean, it also inspired creativeness as well. Creativity. Creativeness is not a word.
All right, I'll say that it's very hard to look past Brando's monologue in On the Waterfront. It's one of the iconic monologues of all time. However, I felt like Bryan debated the issue and held his own a little bit better. So I'm actually going to give the 3 points to Bryan. I believed that he was more touched by that monologue than yourself, other than it being a wonderful film, it being, I mean, how do you go wrong with Marlon Brando? You can't. It's an iconic. When you think of a monologue, you do think of On the Waterfront. I just felt like Bryan sold it a little bit better. So what we're at right now is we're at a tie, folks. 6-6. It's getting.
I didn't want it to come down.
I can feel it in the air tonight.
Oh, God.
Phil Collins wrote that one. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on to our
lightning round.
Lightning round.
You feel that electricity in the air?
Feel both of you, and yes.
All right. Interesting.
So we're going to do this a little bit differently. Other than a timed question segment, we're going to do a 10 question per debater. So everybody has an equal chance. This trivia, keeping in with our theme, there's going to be a lot of bests, a lot of Academy Awards. There's going to be 2 questions per each film director. They're going to be connected. So if you don't get the first one, you're probably not going to get the second one. Right. So let's go ahead and move on. Let's start. I have them in my pocket so that nobody saw them. Do not look over here, or I will give you one upside the head. All right. Let's start with Walter.
Okay.
Are you ready for some trivia?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, well, this one will be all right for you, because the first question is, Francis Ford Coppola's 1979 war epic, Apocalypse Now, was based on this book by Joseph Conrad.
Oh, Heart's Darkness.
That's correct. Now, follow-up question. While Apocalypse Now was nominated for Best Picture, it lost to this film about a child custody battle.
Oh, The Conversation?
No, that's actually Kramer versus Kramer.
No, that was another Francis Ford Coppola.
What was the name of the boat in Steven Spielberg's 1975 film Jaws?
Orca?
Yes. The captain of the Orca in Jaws, which is one of the best monologues of all time, Quint, played by Robert Shaw, was a survivor of which sunken naval ship?
USS Midway.
In the 1984 comedy Ghostbusters, what's the last name of the Egon character?
Man. I don't know.
Spengler. And who played Egon Spengler?
Harold Ramis.
Correct. Also the director of the film. What's the name of Spike Lee's production company?
It's Spike Lee Joint.
No, that's what he calls his production.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's 40 Acres and a Mule. What's the name of the 1989 Spike Lee film that was nominated for Best Original Screenplay Academy Award? He also won Best Director for that.
I really hope I do the right thing.
Yes. This 1996 Coen Brothers black comedy crime thriller takes its name from this city in North Dakota.
What year?
I'm sorry, 1996.
I don't know. Luke Borowski.
Fargo. Joel Cohen, who is one of the co-directors, is married to this star from the same film. Frances McDormand. She played Marjorie. All right. So after, at the end of that, Walter has 4 trivia questions, bringing his total to 10. So you have to beat 4.
I gotta get 5.
I didn't know
Spangler?
Spangler,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Egon Spengler.
Egon, yeah.
Took me a second, but I remembered.
All right,
And then I knew the Fargo one.
Yeah, Fargo, I forgot. It was a Coen Brothers movie, sorry.
Brian.
No, it's a TV series.
Need 5.
Need 5. Brian to the
It's
left.
half of them. Let's see.
This is
Here
going to
we
be
go.
interesting.
All right. So this writer-director Darren Aronofsky started his career with this 1997 indie film made for just $60,000. Nothing. Just take a guess.
Requiem for a Dream?
No, that was his second. Pie.
Oh, right.
Yep.
You add that to me.
This actor was nominated for Best Performance by an Actor in a Leading Role in Aronofsky's 2008 film, The Wrestler.
Mickey Rourke.
That's correct. This 1997 film, co-written by Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, won an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay.
Good Will Hunting.
That's correct. This film, directed by Ben Affleck, was the winner of the 2013 Academy Award for Best Picture.
Fargo.
No.
Argo.
Argo. Sorry, we were looking for Argo. Shot over a period of 11 years using the same cast, this Richard Linklater film was nominated for Best Picture.
Boyhood.
Correct. This 1991 feature indie film with a budget of $23,000 brought Richard Linklater into the limelight. Also influenced Kevin Smith to make a film.
Dazed and Confused?
Incorrect. Slacker. Although the 2001 film Artificial Intelligence was directed by Steven Spielberg, he was not originally supposed to direct it. Who was?
George Lucas?
No, Stanley Kubrick. What was Stanley Kubrick's last film? Nothing.
Hang on. Give me a second. Clockwork Orange?
No, Eyes Wide Shut. Okay, 2 more.
You need both of
You
them.
need both to win, 1 to tie. Although he was nominated multiple times, what is the first film that Martin Scorsese won an Academy Award for Best Picture?
The Departed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice work.
There we go, this is
Last question. A relative of Martin Scorsese's makes an appearance in Goodfellas. Who is it in
Nicolas
relation to
Cage.
him? No, it's one of his relatives. Who is it in relation to him?
His nephew.
No, his mother.
Are we tied?
You guys are tied.
So what do we do?
So we're gonna go ahead and figure something out here. You've never had a tie.
I never had a tie. I've thought about a couple things, but usually it's you come up with a topic and we off the cuff just go at it.
I'm just going to put this out there. Arm wrestling. Let's do it.
I'd probably lose.
So give us just a moment. We'll be back in just a second. All right. So we got ourselves a barn burner. Is that the right term?
Slobber knocker.
I don't know what that means, but if you say so, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so each contestant here will have 1 minute to convince me. We'll start with you, Walter.
Okay.
What's the best horror film ever made?
Halloween. Halloween is the best horror film ever made. It's not just about killing. There's barely any blood in it. I think there's one gory scene, but it's so suspenseful. It's so amazing. It took place in Illinois. Started off careers of Jamie Lee Curtis, who became a big actress later on. It is terrifying, and everybody watches it. Halloween and Halloween 2. But we're talking about just the first Halloween. It's the first one, just the slow walking, just so much suspense in that movie. It's not just about killing. It is about being scared out of your mind. And there aren't just jump scares like Paranormal Activity or something like that. This is genuinely scary. You turn around, there's somebody there. Like it is absolutely terrifying. Still to this day, John Carpenter, still a great director, directed
Getting ready
things.
to turn away because it's been a minute.
Yes,
So
okay.
Halloween.
Halloween.
Porter.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Paranormal Activity. Okay, every time you have a horror movie, this and that, the soundtrack gives away the suspense. In Paranormal Activity, it's found footage. There is no soundtrack. You never knew when something was coming. And also terrifying because it's solely in your home. There's no man coming to get you or whatever. It's in your home. It's an entity that you don't know, you can't see, you don't know why it's there, you don't know what it's going to do. And the movie itself, it's just found footage, it's security footage, and it is terrifying. You don't know what's going to happen, you don't know when it's going to happen, you cannot prepare. You don't have that soundtrack to lead you in. The first time I saw that movie, that night I woke up screaming. I'm not kidding.
Okay, well,
God, I
so
want to do a counterpoint.
we're going with, I know, we have to save it for another time. Walter says Halloween. Bryan Porter says that it's Paranormal Activity, the found footage film. Unfortunately, we're going to have to go with Walter. And Walter is the winner.
I hate horror movies.
We said The Shining.
I haven't seen it yet.
Halloween.
You guys also missed the opportunity.
I read the book.
Patton for a war film. Also a great monologue.
So if Apocalypse Now is better than Patton.
Let's go ahead and get everybody in.
Sure. Crew, come on down.
Crew, come on down.
Hey, everybody. This is the crew that works on Real Debates every time we do it. This is our 6th edition. This is Erica Rogers. She's our TD.
Hey.
This is Nikki Daly. She's helping out on sound today.
Hello.
And over there is Uriah Berryhill, who's working out on camera.
Yes, it's your boy. I want to shout out to moms. Grandma, I couldn't do it without you, baby. I love you. Oh, and my wife.
And we should mention Cherish Brown's always working on the camera for us. Who else?
Kimbrew, who had to step out.
Felice is doing great. She kind of is all over the place with us. So I love doing this. I love being on it now. Dave hosting was a lot of fun. So thank you guys for watching. If you're watching this,
So
much fun.
That concludes another episode of Real Debates. Did you have fun?
Well, I had a lot of fun.
If you made it this far, then you did have fun. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, Walter. Thank you, Bryan. Thank you, everybody out there. Good night. Bye, Johnny. Nice to see you.